Get the fuck away from me.
If you don't know who Austin Wolf is, then he is a former gay star who on June 2024 was convicted of distributing materials relating to minors. Yes, you heard that right, minors. Austin Wolf is the perfect example for why we as people need to stop pretending that dating preferences are not fetishes. At the ripe age of 44, his so-called preference was white twinks. And if you don't know what a twink is someone who has a skinny frame. They look almost childlike. Not almost, they are childlike. And they look like they just finished secondary school. Yeah. If you clicked on this video, you're probably thinking, D'Angelo, what are you on about again? There is no way that my preference is a fetish. And I'm here to tell you, you are wrong. You might also be saying, my preference for a body type, it's just a preference. No, it's a fetish, darling. Friend, if I told you the sky was pink, would you believe me? Stick around to find out what life experience made me come to this realization of why everybody just has a fetish. So, before you can actually understand what a fetish is, first we need to go over what it actually means to have a preference and what it actually means to have a fetish. So, in basic terms, a preference is something you like or tend to be attracted to, but you don't need it. Whereas on the other hand, a fetish is something that becomes a central or necessary part of sexual arousal. In Austin Wolf's case, he was known to tend to work with younger looking performers, and his main goal in doing this was to create the twink versus muscle daddy dynamic. We all know this type of dynamic is a recognized category in porn. So with this in mind, isn't it a fetish? In reality, a lot of people, especially men, think that they have a preference, and what they say their preference is usually something that helps them get off. Friend, if I told you the sky was pink, would you believe me? Let's be clear, I'm not saying that every preference is a fetish. What I am trying to say is that people get the two confused. People use the term preference when in reality they are describing a fetish. And actually, if we just run that back real quick, it's not really because they get them confused. It's because they know that what they say is a preference is actually a fetish, and they don't want to get cancelled or ashamed for it, so they disguise it behind the term preference. So, me using my critical thinking skills per usual, I'll give you some examples. Having a preference is preferring someone who has a job, whether that be manual labor or corporate job, someone who's got a car, someone who's got a house, who has a degree, makes a lot of money, lives alone, is educated. Those are preferences. You get the idea? Now, using my other part of my analytical, critical thinking brain, a fetish can be preferring someone who looks like a twink, who is white, who's very skinny or muscular, or looks like a snow bunny. Those are all fetishes. They are fetishes because they differentiate people from other people. My hair, it's newly done. If someone was to compliment my hair and say, oh, I prefer your hair like this, it's not really a preference. They have a fetish over it because it turns them on. People love to confuse the two, and they won't admit that what they call their preference is something that gets them off, and they are ashamed of it because it is socially unacceptable or sexually deviant. So instead, if you remember what I said earlier, they disguise it behind the term preference so that it comes across as less deviant. Now, I won't even front, we see this a lot in the gay space. For example, on gay dating apps, you have many profiles saying twinks only, chubs only, muscle only, fatties only, or even BBC only. These are not preferences, darling. These are all fetishes. It's what you like. Okay, can we also go back on the topic of twinks? Let's talk about Troye Sivan. Is that even how you say his name? I admit, I don't know anything about this man, and I actually, quite frankly, don't care. The only song I think I know about him is, I don't know, it was that party song. Dun, dun, dun. He's just that irrelevant. So, other than that song that he made that I found really annoying, he leads on to my next point, which is why this topic is so controversial and problematic. To me, this topic is very controversial because it shows people's tendencies to objectify other people. It shows our objectifiable nature, if that is the word. When you bring this up, people will get defensive and everything because they know what they're doing is wrong. They don't care because as long as they can, bust their nut, everything is cool. This is a really problematic topic because of the effect it has on people. You may not realize it, but you categorizing people based on fetishes is something that really affects people with low self-esteem. Those people with low self-esteem begin to hate themselves. They see themselves as not good enough or worthless. And we know how far that problem can go. And it doesn't just stop there. They start closing themselves off to the world. Opportunities become locked away or seem even harder to get. And to be honest, if you as a person don't fit in a certain body type, frame, look, a certain look, or even aesthetic, it just becomes depressing when you think about it. So let's talk about my real life experience that made me realize this astonishing fact. So when I first got into the gay dating space, I was on those apps. Okay, yes, I was on those apps looking for love, which is a terrible place to look for love, by the way. I do not recommend. I would put up pictures of myself and people would say they like my body type, and that would be the only thing they would ever compliment me on. My body type, my waist, my itty bitty waist. Stupid younger me thought, yes, finally I've been chosen. I didn't have a high school crush or anything or a high school partner. And then now I'm on these apps. All these people, they love me. They have chosen D'Angelo. Well, I was wrong because they only chose me for my hoe and my schlong pooper. And if we're being honest here, I feel like black get the most fetishized in our society. People always term us as having BVCs. Like that's not, the experience for every black boy. And obviously this is something that I've only just realized. And mind you, I am 20 goddamn years old. So to be honest, we can't expect the younger generation of men to know the difference and to come to this realization. It is really up to these weirdos who fetishize, younger adults like Austin Wolf to change how they move. Also, slightly different topic, but in my last video, I received a comment about why should we have gay characters in children's movies and that. And here's the reason why. If we don't represent all body types in all aspects of the media, people begin to feel like they are unnatural or in anomalies, when in fact that is not true. Guys, there is over 8 billion people on the planet. You're gonna have some fatties, you're gonna have some skinnies, some medium sizes, you're gonna have everything. So it's really important that you represent all types of sexualities or body types or hair colors or skin colors. You need to represent that. Children are the ones that have the growing up to do. They are the ones that are going to grow up with these ideas, and if these ideas are really harmful, that is not going to be good for the next generation and society as a whole. Yes, I do agree that we don't need to see gay characters having sex, but that same idea goes for straight characters too. I do not need to see Beauty and the Beast doing the whoop-de-woo, if you catch my drift. I do not need to see that. I don't want my kids to see that. I don't want any child to see that. But it's okay for characters to kiss because, hello, children kiss their parents all the time. If we continue to represent all body types and all unique aspects of us in the media, this will help people feel more comfortable with their body types and who they are and not fall victim to society's ruthless standards. Hey, can I just say something real quick? If you want to see why black people and homophobia go in the same sentence and celebrities getting cancelled for their homophobia, click on this video right here. Yes, click on it. You do not want to miss that, darling. I know that's right.